All right, everybody, welcome back to the Furlough Podcast. We have a special guest on today via Zoom. We have on the pretty much in many circles a legend, MMA coach, fighter, Mr. Greg Nelson. Welcome on.
All right, welcome for having me. It's awesome.
We're glad to have you on. For the many people that may know you or may not know you, I would love to read off your laundry list of accomplishments, but it is definitely a long page. So I would definitely, if anybody wants to read off a lot of Greg's accomplishments, they need to go to the Academy mn.com. If I think I said that right.
AcademyMN.com.
All right. And for people that don't know, Mr. Nelson is an MMA coach. He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, 4th degree, I believe. You are under Professor Sauer, Pedro Sauer. You are a Division I wrestler. You are in, and I'm not even going to attempt to say all the Filipino martial arts names because I know I don't pronounce them right. But there was a slew of Filipino martial arts that you're into and teach, and obviously wrestling and boxing as well.
Yep. Basically, just a lifetime of studying martial arts, as many as I could get my hands on. And, people would point me in a direction. Why don't you try this one? I'll say, let's do it. Let's try it. And it's been just a blast of a journey.
You've actually got to travel and compete overseas in Thailand when you did Thai boxing. Am I correct? Or did you just train overseas?
I trained over there and did a lot of Kabikabong and did that training there, lived in the camps. In fact, in 1989, right at the beginning of 1990, because it was right at that time, I trained at Sompantale, which at that point, I was the first foreigner to ever train at that camp. Oh, wow. And that was where the famous Rainbow Sompantale trained, and a couple others that were Rajadamnern champions. And so that was a trip. They were kind of looking at me at first like, who's this dude?
Yeah.
I was going to ask that. As you could be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then, but I was intense because I was young, and I just was like, go, go, go. And I was just coming off of a ton of Greco training. So,
wow.
And usually when you're there, you just get absolutely demolished in the clinch. And I'm sure as soon as they touch me, they're going to whip me around. But here's what I always say this. When I was clinching, when I started clinching, they tried to throw right away, but my feet are on the ground. I was good to go. No problem. But the problem is when you go to lift up your knee to throw them, to knee them, and then you get kind of tossed and thrown all over the place. But the fact that I could stay on my feet and do pretty well, it was fun. But man, I remember after that first day, I went to Achan Chai. I go, Achan, dude, every time I lift up my leg, they're throwing me all over. And then he's like, I know, they feel you. And I'm like, okay, I got it. What do I do? So the next day, I always say I did a lot better and got thrown a little less.
A little less.
But it was a blast. I loved it. Yeah.
A lot of people don't get to train and go overseas and experience those kind of experiences. And was that something that you had a lot of support from family and friends over, or did you just kind of, or they just think you were crazy?
Oh yeah, my mom and dad, they were always very supportive of me going, doing whatever. I was right finishing up college at that time. So I was like, whatever, taking off to Thailand, going over there. So I went there in 89 and then 92, 94, 96, 2001. I mean, just kind of continuing to go on. And then we went to Holland. We trained in Holland and fought in Holland and Ireland and just through the martial arts, I've been able to go a lot of places all over the world and teach and train and compete and do all sorts of cool stuff.
I was talking to Eric Paulson, and he was talking about, I think he was kind of reiterating on that as far as, and we had the discussion, I'll paraphrase a little bit, but it's amazing how you, through this, people don't realize how much you how many friends you make through martial arts, and the camaraderie that you build up, that doing almost anything else, you know, that off the top of my head, that just puts you in contact with so many people around the world, either directly or very close indirectly.
Yeah, I mean, I got friends in Japan and Latvia and England and Spain and Italy and Australia. I mean, all over the place. You know, Colombia, we have academy in Colombia. We have academy in Barcelona, Spain. We have academy in Riga, Latvia. So able to get there. Usually, in fact, right now, if this was normal times, I'd be in Barcelona. I go every May for the last, this would be the 12th year. And then on Wednesday, Thursday, I'd be flying to France to train to teach in France. So on a normal year, that's where I would have been right now.
Well, this is a crazy year, and you, like many other instructors, are doing a lot of online training, and you're trying to, the different classes virtually. And I know that a lot of people are finding a lot of um, success with it, but I'm sure it's got a little bit of its tries and tribulations, if you will, if you're going to try to get everybody on board. And obviously, the more people you have on board, the more little squares you have on your monitor, so it's kind of hard to keep up. Do you find that you're getting a good response from a lot of people?
You know, it's kind of hit and miss. We have a pretty good response. I mean, pretty consistent, the people that are doing it. But I think like it's anything that's different, people are a little bit hesitant about. And
Hmm.
they're like, I'm in my house, I can't really train. And you know, they're not used to it. They're used to coming to academy. They're used to that social interaction with each other. And we were just talking about this morning after my class I taught. We always stay afterwards and talk. And you can just see that a lot of people come to academies and train. You know, of course, they're doing martial art because they like martial art, but they're really coming also to just be around people and talk and laugh and have friends. And all of a sudden, they're training in their own room or
Right.
wherever. They don't have someone next to them. It's awkward for a lot of people. And some people are going to gravitate towards it, and some people it's just going to be really, really tough, especially for those people that are more tactile learners.
Hmm.
They learn by feeling and being around others. You know, it's a tough thing to do. But for me and our philosophy is something is always better than nothing. So no matter what, if I had one person come to my Zoom class, that'd be good enough for me because I'm going to be training anyways. I'm going to be teaching. I'm going to be moving. I mean, I do martial arts and I'm a martial artist because that's what I love to do, and I'm going to do it anyways.
Right.
So I'm going, well, I'll do it in front of the screen, no issues.
Do you now, do you use a dummy? I have I have a dummy. I'm not going. It's a pretty good one. I do a little bit of work with it. I find like I can do a lot of I can work on a lot of my hard chokes without really being a dick to my partners, if you will.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I can really work on like baseballs and really just trying to crank it, and really, good arm crank, shoulder crank, stuff like that, without hurting my friends, if you will.
Yeah, I right away, almost the first day we knew that we couldn't train, I made a dummy in my house. And everything that I've done, I made everything from what I found in my house. I
Hmm.
teach all my classes from a room in my house because there's a lot of people that won't have like a dummy. I have dummies at my school. I could go get and say, "Oh, everybody grab your dummy," and they're like, yeah, we don't have a dummy like that." So I made one out of it's a pretty good one. It's really durable. It's got weight to it. There's old gis in there and jeans and it. I haven't had to do anything. I can throw that thing around. Like I said, just like you said, you can choke it. You can just squeeze the living crap out of it, and it's not gonna whine or wince. And you
Yeah.
can work. I tell people this is the time that you're going to be able to develop a grip and an ability to choke and just get stronger than ever before. And the other thing is, we're telling people too, is that this is a great opportunity for you to really start to use your imagination and visualization when you're training and bringing that element into things because so many people are so used to having something or somebody in front of them all the time telling them what to do, how to do it, what it looks like. And people like myself and a lot of other people that are from the age before DVD and VHS and computer, you had
or
to
a
figure it out.
or a black belt within 50 miles or
Yeah,
more.
50 miles, who knows?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I
exactly.
was the first blue belt. I was like one of the first blue belts in the Midwest, so it was crazy. And so, I remember learning wrestling from a book when I was a kid, looking at it, going, Bobby Douglas's takedown book, and going, wait a minute, how get from that picture to that picture? All right, let's figure it out,
Yeah,
and just
somebody
go from
missed a
there.
step. We missed a
Yeah.
step somewhere. Yeah. Well, yeah, we were talking about that. I was talking about that with Eric as well. Said because I bring him up because he was just on our previous show, and I know that you know Eric very well, and we were talking
Oh,
about
yeah.
how the fact that if you saw a purple belt, back in the day, you were like, oh, that guy's a purple belt. Holy crap! It's like
Yeah.
now, thank goodness that so many people have gotten into that particular, that discipline that you get a lot of good training around any places. So it's a lot of availability. And so even if you're training at home, you may have a buddy that you train with. You have more options to have a buddy that you're training with that can come over that isn't sick or whatever, maybe help do the Zoom class versus, having the whole big class. But
Yeah.
how do you tie in your other martial arts to your grappling? A lot of people get kind of one track minded. They're either a striker, they're a grappler, and when MMA really broke free in the 90s, I think a lot of people they train both, but some schools don't do a really deep job of mirroring the ones together. And I know that you've had a great success. You've had multiple champions in the UFC, WEC, Pride, and probably many others I'm forgetting. How do you mirror your classes together?
Well, I mean, we have separate classes because we have some people that just like Muay Thai. That's all they
Mhm.
want to do is Thai boxing. And then we have some that are just purely Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And then we have a mixed martial arts class. We have foundations, which is very basic. And then we have, uh, more advanced classes than that. We also have our MMA training, our team
Mhm.
training. We have Filipino martial arts classes. I have what I kind of call, it's termed total defense, but I bring in all the Jean Fan and JKD and Panatukan and all what I consider the more functional, really nuts and bolts part of the fighting of those arts and bring those in. And we've always, since day one, just have been what I always say, a truly mixed martial arts school.
Mhm.
We did, and I was just talking about this the other day, how a lot of schools, you just kind of mentioned it, a lot of schools that did Thai boxing, Filipino martial arts, Jean Fan martial arts, they did they grew up doing it, but then they started doing jujitsu, and they basically just filtered away from all those other arts and just started focusing on just jujitsu.
Yeah.
And now I look at them and go, don't you wish you were still doing Thai boxing and the Filipino martial arts and all this other stuff? Because that's going to be the stuff that's going to be easier to come back and start training with this social distancing stuff.
Right.
And, so it's much easier to teach those type of classes over the Zoom as well, because there's a lot of shadow boxing. There's a lot of stuff you can do. There's so many distance drilling. There's distance sparring. There's, we can do, cue sparring where I fake a kick and they can block and come back with attacks. I can cue with movement drills, and it's so much harder to do that with jiu-jitsu. I mean, obviously you can do a bunch of movement drills and you can do some stance and motion wrestling type drills, but then a lot of people just kind of get stuck in that loop, and it's really hard to get out of it without that actual physical touch and physical feel. A lot of people, it just doesn't, they just get frustrated, I think. So for me, we've always had that blend, and I think it's because we've just never stopped doing mixed martial arts. And to me, they all have something to offer the other. I mean, I use trapping and my Wing Chun and Filipino, the Huba and all that stuff when I'm grappling. So I'll be going in for a choke, and all of a sudden I stop it and I pock their hand all the way and I come back the other side. I lop over the top, grab their hand, constantly trapping in there.
Isn't it
All
fun?
those old drills from Wing Chun.
I was gonna say, isn't it funny how some of that stuff that people go, "Oh, that'll never work." Well, maybe not as a whole, but there's parts of everything. There's parts of every different discipline that you can take and just cherry pick from. And I think that's what Bruce Lee's whole philosophy was: is take what works, get rid of the rest. And I think people forget that because they get focused on what's new and what's hot. Even in MMA, they're like, well, I'm going to MMA class, but they don't, do a whole lot of, anything nuts and bolts. They're just kind of going through the motions of all of it kind of splashed together.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a curriculum in every one of our uh, martial arts that we do. We have a specific curriculum in Muay Thai, specific curriculum in Jiu-Jitsu, specific curriculum in MMA for the regular classes. And for the whole month, we'll be focusing on that one element of stuff in each one of those areas. And people are like, they look at our curriculum and they go, that's all you teach? And I go, yeah, that's all we teach. And about the 500 drills you can do with it.
Right.
It's because we take from so many different sources. Like with Eric Paulson with the STX kickboxing, the whole mentality of taking from Savat and Thai boxing and Jun Fan martial arts and even the Filipino striking arts. You can take elements of those and bring them into your Thai boxing, elements of different training methods, modified training methods, different drills. There's so many ways to train. So many, you can take a few things and create who knows how many drills with all the different options you can.
Yeah, just count.
To me, it's totally counts. And the same thing with our jiu-jitsu. And the other thing is this: how I teach this combination or this particular movement might be slightly different than Coach Nat, slightly different than Coach John, slightly different because they have different body types, different experiences, different feels to the art. And that's so many different drills, because I'll be creating my own curriculum and my own drills out of my own drills out of the curriculum. They'll be doing the same thing. I'll go to their class and go, never thought of that drill before. I'm taking it, and that's the way it is.
Do you do a lot of flow drills?
Do flow drills, do situation drills, movement drills, mix and match. I throw, obviously wrestling drills into our jiu-jitsu into the wrestling that I teach. I mean, it's just a constant mix and match and drill and flow. And man, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of drills.
Well, let me ask this question. This is a loaded question a little bit because you're a wrestling guy and I like wrestling. Do you think that as jiu-jitsu progresses that they should teach way more wrestling in takedowns for jiu-jitsu?
Yes. And the reason is because every fight, people forget, ultimately, you have the sport, and you have that, of course, but the art was designed for self-defense originally. It was designed for fighting. And fights start up on feet. And if I can control the takedown and end up on top, man, that's the beauty of the whole art. Even watch the old Gracie and action tapes. How many people jumped guard and those? They didn't.
Nothing.
If they got taken down, and then they tapped the guy. But otherwise, they were shooting singles and doubles and slamming guys into walls.
Yeah.
Taking them down and ending up on top. And then when he's put in the elements of what if you're fighting on tar, cement, or a dirt road? You don't want to be on your back. You want to fight to be on top.
Right.
And you look at the last Abu Dhabi. How much wrestling was there? Tons.
I think a lot of people forget that though, or overlook that, and I just bring that up as a nudge for people listening to the show that know me, because I think that wrestling is very important for takedowns, and I think being on top is paramount. You want to be able to fight off your back, but being on top is really nice. So
yeah, it definitely is, and the biggest thing too is let's just look at MMA for a second here. Look at the percentage of champions that are wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of them. The majority of champions have been wrestlers. In fact, probably about 70% of the UFC roster are wrestler-based. Now, does that mean they totally discount jiu-jitsu? No, they have to know jiu-jitsu. They have to know what not to do and how to deal with that. and their submission skills. But the ability to get on top is paramount to winning fights, because now you can rain down blows. And as soon as you realize how to protect your arms, how to protect your neck, and how to keep in a good position, the person on the bottom, they're on the bottom. They can't punch up and hit as hard. That's just the bottom line.
Who's been some of the best camps that you remember when you training a lot of your fighters? And you don't have to give a name if you don't want to, but like when you left the camp, you was like, man, that was a great camp.
Oh, we've had, you mean as far as our own training camps that our fighters have done?
Or whether it's your own personal guys or anybody that they brought you into. I know that you did the UFC or the Ultimate Fighter thing. I know you've helped many champions. But is there any camp that you think of that's like, man, that was the camp of camps, or that was such a great camp, that was the way it should be? Anything comes to mind? I'm just trying to drag old stories out of you.
I mean, the biggest thing is, it's funny because if you look at the majority of the time how we developed our fighters, it's all been in our own school. Like I always tell people, Sean Shirk, product of our classroom, he did a lot of his training right in the classes, right with regular students. And then we would go to our MMA training. So he would go right in there and do jujitsu with the jujitsu class. He would do Thai boxing with the Thai boxing class. But he'd also obviously be training specifically with our fighters. And he never had an ego about training with somebody. As long as they could hold pads, as long as they could, do the drills, he was all good for it. And very specific. And so that became kind of the mold. And so right now I'll tell people that if they were to come to our school, they'd be watching our best getting tapped out and laughing about it, having fun, because that's how you learn. You learn by having fun and taking chances. And if you're always fighting and always, trying to stay so guarded, you're never going to get out of that box, and you're going to end up running into a bad position in a fight at some point. So you might as well put yourself in every bad position possible with whoever you're with. And if I say, if you're training with a person that's not so good, even beginning, say, hey, I want you to put me in a triangle and I want you to choke the crap out of me. If you can tap me out, kudos. And sometimes they do, and they got to go, oh, that was good. Do that one again, exactly like that. Don't let go. And they'll train with them like that. They don't care because they know that that's going to be a deal. Now, when we trained with like Brock, then that was a different camp. We've been people, because there's not a lot of people that are that big and that athletic and that able to deal with that monster. Who you got on your wall behind you?
That's this one right here. That's Yeti. It's a Bigfoot. Yeah, exactly. It's a big monster. And
and so he was so athletic and so explosive that we had to start sending out for people. So we got Cole Conrad, who was a two-time NCAA national champion, 4-time All-American, 3-time finalist. We had Tony Nelson in there, 2-time national champion, 3-time finalist, 4-time All-American. Marty Morgan was also he was like the main coach, because he was Brock's coach in college, but he was an undefeated NCAA national champ, runner-up, 3rd place, Division II national champ. We brought in Caprito, 2-time absolute world champion. Pat Barry, great, striker. So we brought, mix and match all these different people to bring in so we could put together a camp. And we had a separate facility that we trained at. At first it was he trained at the school, but then he had land and he had a big pole barn and he put the mats in there. And then he moved up to Alexandria, Minnesota, and he had another big giant pole barn, which was great. Had everything in there. You name it. Yeah, it was great. So we'd go up there and he would bring everybody up and they would stay, and he'd have a house for them to stay in. And it was a different camp. But then again, he was like a millionaire from WWE.
Right. That's a whole different world.
Yeah.
But that
could do that for every camp.
Yeah, but that was kind of like a who's who camp, wasn't it? I mean, looking around, you're looking at that's high end athletes,
It was awesome. be in that room. And the funny thing is, Cole Conrad, who is even bigger than Brock, but he looks like a lot fatter. But
Mhm.
under that layer, you got a guy that was undefeated his last 76 matches in Division One wrestling,
Shit.
and his only loss the year before that was 3 times to Mako, and
Oh
then
man.
the only losses Mako had were the next year was all to Cole Conrad, and so you had guys that just had so much wrestling. Well, we said, well, why don't you try fighting there, Cole? I don't really want to fight, and then he fought once. He said, okay, I'll try it. What happens? He becomes the Bellator heavyweight champion, and he
That's
wins the tournament, gets 175 grand, whatever he got. And then he said, that's good enough for me. I'm going to pay for law school. And, he graduated law school. And
that's fantastic though. Golly.
yeah,
That's fantastic. To have
yeah. So great.
man, what a great story for him to have to tell the grandkids. I just went and beat the crap out of a bunch of guys and and paid for law school.
Yeah.
That'll motivate you to go to
Yeah.
wrestling, won't it?
Exactly.
And be like, I think
Yeah.
I'm gonna wrestle in high school, Dad.
And it was fun, back in the day, we've had like rivalries with different camps throughout the days. Like we fought a lot of guys from the Militich camp back in the day. We fought, and we still fighting guys from Duke Rufus's camp, which is in Milwaukee, which is like 6 hours away. So,
Mm-hmm. So it's fairly close.
they have a great camp. Yeah. So they have a great camp full of great fighters. And we've been fighting each other since Thai boxing. I mean,
Mid '80s at least, right?
yeah. I mean, it's been, especially with Duke, with the Thai boxing, we fought with Thai boxing because that's what he was doing primarily at the beginning. So they were especially in the States, one of the better schools to fight with. And then they gravitated towards the MMA, and, they're, obviously they have great fighters that are in there. So that still happens, and we still are competing against those guys.
But that's good though, right? I mean, I think some people get weary of competition, but I think it's good to have good competition around within a reasonable distance. It keeps you on point, right?
Yeah, you got to have competition. I have never, even within our own area, we have a school that are really competitive. We're like, that's great. I mean, the more competitive schools around your area, the more you have to stay on point. You can't get complacent. You have to keep your edge, and that's just not for competing, but that's just for running a school.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Our whole thing is, well, if they all of a sudden get all the students, they're doing something right, and we're doing something wrong. It's not, that's just the way it is. So we really, I never shy away from that. I mean, there's like in the Twin Cities metro area, you've got 1 million people to share. Plus, so
Absolutely.
it's not a big
Absolutely.
deal.
Yeah, we have quite a few schools in this general area, and everybody has a little bit different twist, on how they do things like that. But I always talk about, that the more you got, you don't want too many. You don't want one on every corner, but you at least want a good solid handful around, so that if you're getting those students, you're doing a good job, and it keeps you hungry, and it keeps you humble.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this, when this whole COVID thing started, all of the jiu-jitsu schools in Minnesota, we got a coach's site together and all conferred back and forth. What are you doing? How are we going to do this? Where are you going? So all of us, all the school owners from all of our competitive schools, because now we're not competing against each other. We're competing against this thing. And it's taking our ability to grapple and our ability to run our schools. And so we're trying to keep everybody, involved with what we're doing, what they're doing, how's it working. No problem, because it's all fight to keep our schools open and to be able to come back and be competitors again with each other.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of a scary question to ask out loud. Is with all this stuff, whether you believe it's hyped up or not hyped up, it's obviously an issue for the country. What do you think? You're going to have your diehards, your guys like me that's done it for a long time. We're going to do it. What do you see about convincing somebody that's never done it, that was interested before, to convince them that this is going to be okay to do this, because a lot of people are going to be real funny about touching each other. And as you can do the tie boxing, you can do the different things, but grappling in its sense, you gotta, you're sweating on each other.
Yeah. Well, before we even get that far, when is it going to be that we can actually have a normal class? So right now it's probably going to be, small groups. We're already talking about, okay, people that are like families who've been together, they can come in and train,
Right.
having actual like jujitsu buddy, that's who you're going to be training with. That's who's going to be your partner. That's
I got you.
where you're going to be coming. So that's an option. And as things start to loosen up over time or whatever the situation is, then we can start having, okay, four people at a time grappling, or 10 people in one side of the academy, 10 people in the other. I mean, who knows what's going to be even somewhat permitted. And I always tell people this, it's like right now, anybody could have people come in and grapple at their school, right? They could just say, screw it. I'm just going to do whatever I'm going to do. But here's the thing. What if all of a sudden you get an outbreak and somebody gets seriously sick?
It's
It
attached
may
to
have
your
nothing
school.
to do with the school. Yeah, but it's attached to your school. They could have got it from some dude at the supermarket, but
Right.
it doesn't matter because they were training your school. And now you got to deal with that. And now it's like you're the school. You're the
Yeah.
COVID school. Don't
You're
go
the
there.
host. You're the
And
host.
so you're the host. So there's a whole thing. And here's another thing that you got to watch out for that we've been talking about with our little group. It's like litigation lawyers they're on the prowl. They're on the hunt. Think about that.
Yeah.
And
I didn't
so,
think about that.
you get a something happening and somebody decides to sue your school. How can you prove that they got it there? There's no way to prove it. But they're going to say, yeah, but did you follow this rule, this rule, this rule? People were there without a face mask. There were people touching each other. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh.
And those tort
People
lawyers
can't
are
even
good. Yeah, those tort lawyers are good too, man.
Yeah, there you go. So, I mean, that's just something you got to think about. So we're already kind of trying to figure out how we're going to address outside classes first, having classes outside. We have a big parking lot in the back that no cars there because we have a big truck area back there. And then we have a nice area in the front, a little grassy area that we could train. So that could be, much easier with striking for sure. And we can do that stuff. And then we'll start to figure out, what are they going to allow for as far as small groups? It's only going to be, we have a huge academy. I got 12,000 square feet, 2 big giant gyms. So
that's huge.
Way bigger than most people's school. So
Yeah.
we have big dock doors that we can have open. We got fans on the ceiling. So, we can keep the air moving, keep doors open, and have big giant floors to separate people. But if they're only going to allow, say, 10 people in a school, that's what their number is. And we're like, well, what if we have a giant school? Doesn't matter. It's 10 people at a time.
Wow.
So we don't know what they're going to say.
Yeah.
What's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And so we're trying to figure that out, but we're trying to think about the outside classes, which I think will be the first thing that we're going to do, that publicly people can come in, and then we'll start doing the smaller group training or the COVID groups, the people that have been at home together, quarantined.
Yeah, we call them battle buddies, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what it is, And even though, the whole situation, the vast majority of the people are older and in nursing homes that are really getting hit. But man, the people that have had it that are younger will say, yeah, some of them are totally asymptomatic, a whole bunch of them. But then some of them say, man, it's brutal.
Yeah. You don't know. And because you don't realize if you have an, immune deficiency issue or not. A lot of times, you may have something, you don't realize it, and this brings it on. And you yourself, you battled a couple of things in your day, and is that something that makes you nervous as far as, okay, I've dealt with some pretty rough things in my life. Do I want to risk, until we know what's going on with this?
Well, I look at it like this. I mean, I had two cancers back to back. The first one was stage 4 liver cancer, which they basically gave us about a 5% survival rate. That's
That's
stats at
amazing.
that time.
That's amazing.
But I told them, hear any stats. I told them I don't want to hear numbers. I don't want to hear stats. I just want to hear what we got to do. All right. So got through that. Then the second cancer was and I call my stage 4 liver cancer my easy cancer. Because then the next one was when the lymphoma had drifted into my sciatic nerves in this nervous system. And at that point in time, as far as Rochester, Mayo knows, that there was 0 survivors to date. They all died of the pain because it was really painful. I was on, 24-hour, nonstop morphine drips. And then the morphine, I'd have so much that I'd stop breathing. So then they'd have to take me off of that, put me on 48-hour ketamine drips. And then, it just went like that. And so I look at that and go, well, okay, I survived one that was, where 95% of the people died. I survived second cancer where 100% of the people died. So when you got something that has like a 98% survival rate, I'm like, bring it on.
You feel pretty decent about it. You feel good about your odds, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, it's funny, because you don't know, and you made the comment about being asymptomatic. We don't know who's had it, who hasn't had it, and we'll may never know. I mean, there's people that'll go through life that may have had it and have no idea to the day they die of old age. They may not know that they've ever had it. So
exactly. So that's what's so strange about it.
Yeah, it's weird. It's super weird, and our particular state is starting to relax a lot of things, and gyms like workout gyms, like lifting weights and stuff like that can open, but I don't think martial arts gyms can open yet. So it's one of those things we don't know where it's going to go, and hopefully get by it pretty soon. And my next question is this, and this is, we have had I know a lot of gyms in this area has had a lot of outpouring of support, people staying with the schools, still paying their dues, doing the Zoom classes, or doing the online stuff. We're under the Pedro Sauer Association and Eric Paulson's association, and doing the online university stuff that they put out. And so we've been very fortunate so far that people are supporting everybody and not just saying, well, I'm done. I think that's I think that's a great testament to the martial arts community, that people are sticking with it even though they can't come in and train. They're not being selfish at all. And I hope that you guys are experiencing the same thing.
Yeah, we definitely experiencing that as well. And there's going to be people that are truly in hardship, and we're like, hey, we'll put your account on hold. We're fine.
Yeah.
We have no issues with that. And, because we have a lot of people that are still working and still training and doing the Zoom classes and doing all the other stuff. And so my philosophy is, obviously if we have enough to pay our bills, and I can, I'm continuing to be able to pay my full-time staff and, those people I can, and we're good to go.
Absolutely.
And we'll just have to get out as much as we can. Yeah.
I think it's good. Well, hopefully, when this year gets over with and everything's back to normal, and I don't want to say the new normal because I don't want anything. Hey, I don't like saying that. I don't want anything crazy to change, but I want it to get back to where I want the old normal. I want to be able to come rolling in and knock on your door and say, hey, I want to train, and not have to do a whole medical list and test. You know what I'm saying? It's
step under this
desalination. Yeah. We're gonna delouse you. Yeah, we're gonna delouse you out here. Feel like you're going to prison. Start hitting you with that chalk.
Exactly.
But no, it's gonna be great. Hopefully we can get you back down when all this crazy stuff is over. I've been trying to get Coach Chris Mons to reach out to some of you guys and get you in for some seminars and things of that nature. I know that when this is all over, you'll probably be playing a big bunch of catch up with some of the ones that you already had planned out.
Yeah, we have some that we've already like the whole European thing. We just, postpone that to October, so hopefully by that time we'll be good to go, and that's the thing. But everything, it's like, you can plan for it and then you just wait and see. I mean, that's kind of the whole thing. It's so weird because when you watch it at the beginning, it was like the bubonic plague is going to kill half the world. And then they're looking at the numbers and like, okay, well, it's not quite that bad, but it's still bad. And now, for me, it was fascinating how fast pretty much everything just fell in line. I was just going, whoa, that was like, no, go to the stores, close all the restaurants, close all these stores, shut, do. And I think it was fine because we do have, comparatively to Italy and Spain and some of these other countries that just got hit. But Italy and Spain are more like New York, condensed. Everything's on top of one another. And so you get those places like that. And of course, that's what's going to happen. It's people are living on each other. Their apartments are going up and down. In subway systems that just transfer everybody all over the place. And so that's where the spread happens so fast. And, most of the other places around the country didn't have anywhere near, not even close to what New York numbers are. So
that's crazy. Well, we'll get back to training and doing all that great stuff. So I got a question that's in my head because somebody had mentioned that because of your long extensive training that you had some pretty interesting stories from doing security at Target. Am I saying that right?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Are you willing to elaborate on some of those fun stories?
Oh my gosh. Target, I worked at Target, what we call Target Lake Street, Target Broadway. Target Lake Street was the second most heaviest crimed business establishment in Minneapolis.
Holy smokes.
There was 811 911 calls in 1 year to that parking lot.
People are serious.
Remember that was I was there from 1985 to 90, right at the beginning of the 90s. And so, and then I went from there to another store, and that was right during the crack epidemic. All the gangs were coming in. So it was insane. It was the greatest job I ever had. But so we had, you go to work and back then you could chase people, you could tackle them. It was just like a free for all. And we had managers of the store that would be like, hey, if someone steals and fight, make an example. And I'm just like, rock on, so.
Boy, times have changed.
Yes, they have. A couple of those tort lawyers got a hold of that one.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, I got stabbed a few times there. In fact, here's a great stat. Every male employee that worked there for over a couple of years, every one of us got stabbed at least once.
Damn.
That worked security. So I had guys get stabbed in the arm, in the back, got stabbed in the hands, got stabbed. It was just the way it was. It was a free for all. I got stabbed through my hand. So it went in here and went right through my hand.
Oh,
once,
nice.
And then I got stabbed here in the other arm. And my finger was stuck like this for I had to do weightlifting with a rubber band going, trying to get my finger to move because it kind of hit my tendon a little bit when I went through my hand. And so that was a crazy one. I thought the guy was punching me. So this is a great story because you don't know and how reflexes save your life. And so this guy stole a brother's typewriter. That's kind of the date, right?
Yeah.
Typewriter, 2 cartons of cigarettes, and he went out the door. And so that was just like, oh, pretty normal. All right, out the door. And so all of a sudden he drops the typewriter and there's a little scuffle going on, and me and another coworker have a hold of him. and we had to tackle him on the way down because he was running. So we tackled him. And so he was faking like he was dropping in and out of the, like he'd drop down and he'd come right back up. He'd drop down, he'd come up. And then one time he drops down and then he comes up and he's swinging around like a full-on haymaker. And I just kind of blocked it and then I kicked him away, all right? Because then you just see what's going on. And I saw this blood and I go, God dang, I can't believe he got me. And so I feeling at my head, trying to feel where he cut me because I thought he must have punched me in the head. That's where the blood comes. And then I look at my hand, and my hand is just bleeding down. I'm looking at it, and it looks like I got a cut on one side, a cut on the other side. I'm like, what the heck? And then I look over at the guy, and he's got a knife in his hand, and he's just like screaming something unintelligible at the time, just ah. And John, the other guy was with, got a little bit of a cut on his side. So then here's where, for a second there, I went a little bit on the deep end. I took out my own knife and I was like, son of a bitch, must pay.
Yes.
So I was like stalking him, but then all of a sudden I could remember my coworker, and it was like this voice that got faint and louder. It was like, Greg, put it away. Greg, put it away. And then you snap out of it. So I don't know if it was like how long it was, but then you look and you're going, all right, I'm stalking this guy in the parking lot with a knife. He's got a knife. I'm just stabbing once. So I remember I put it back, and I got a shopping cart, and I just started just ramming him with the shopping cart.
Wow.
And this fight went on for like 10 minutes like this because he was slashing with the knife. And then finally a car came to pick him up, and I pinned him against the car. And then I had my coworker grab the cart, and then I ran around, opened the door. The guy takes off, but that guy's pinned in there, so he goes spinning down to the ground. We jump on him, and I grab the knife, and then I just stomp his hand and stomp the knife out of his hand. And I remember I was going to just step back and field goal kick his head. And there's certain parts of the fight that just come back. This guy jumps in front of me, goes, what do you think you're doing? And I was just like, what? Wham! And I slap him out of the way, and it was like a big red paintbrush hit him. I step back to punch the guy again. But now I'm like, it's like I'm totally drunk because I lost so much blood I can hardly stand up.
Wow.
Like, hey, you got to get inside. I'm like, So we end up getting the guy in, and I go inside, and all the lights around the inside the store look like when you get out of a chlorine pool.
Yeah. Halos. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, Greg Nelson, trying to say my name and my social security number so I won't forget it. And going back, and that was one. I mean, I had back in the day, I worked anywhere between probably about 30 hours a week at that store. And I had I caught a shoplifter about every 3.5 hours.
No joke.
And then another guy, I mean, it was just like pew, pew, pew. And I would say that probably 1 out of 5 would run and try to get away. So you'd have to tackle. But then probably out of that group, probably 1 out of 20 was like full on just fight. They just turned around and said, we're going. And that was like every week. Sometimes I remember one time where we worked, my roommate and I, we worked at the same store, and I don't know what was going on, full moon or something, but I had like 6 or 7 guys fight, dragging them in, then another one. He's having the same thing. And then we usually would go out to this bar called Norma Jean's, which was on 26 and 26, which was a notorious corner because they had a biker bar across the street and another bar. So we'd go there because they have, a buffet.
Yeah.
Get a beer,
Yeah.
buffet. So we're like, we're college students. This is the best thing ever. And I remember we're in there and we're just like, we got scratches on us. And we're just like, whew, that was a tiring day. That was something.
That was
a doozy. Yeah. And all of a sudden we look over and these 2 guys look at my roommate and they go, what you looking at, you fags? And I'm like, no, why? We just want to eat. And my roommate, of course, is like, nothing, but you should be looking at us. Of course, that was it. And the guy gets up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember, this is another funny thing. I remember I kind of pushed up against him, and he was just like this. I go, dude, just step away. Don't want to fight. And the guy goes, well, you're fighting. And he steps away to hit me, and my elbow slipped up, hit him right in the chin. He goes straight out cold backwards.
Oh, no way. Are you serious?
And I look at my roommate and go, I didn't try. And then I look at his buddy. I said, pick him up. You're next. And so they dragged his buddy out of there, and they're out. And I look at him and go, I didn't even try to hit him.
That was a crazy day. That was
Yeah, it was a crazy day. But there was a lot. That store, and the other one, Broadway Target, that was in North Minneapolis, which was pretty much the black side of the city. And I would work there, and I'd close the store down. I was basically like a GE light bulb walking around at that store at night.
Yeah.
Everybody knew everybody. All the thieves knew who you were. You knew who the thieves were. It was just a big game of cat and mouse.
Yeah, yeah.
And I always made it, I told the guys, hey, listen, you come in, just normal, nothing's going to happen. We'll just do our paperwork, and that's the way it is. But if you fight, we're going to fight. That's the way it's going to go.
God,
And
times have changed.
yeah, and they were just like, okay. And I remember I had this one guy that worked with me. This is kind of how fast word spreads. But I had this guy that worked it with me, and he was like a total, just like I don't even know what he was, neo-Nazi, crazy prick. I mean, he was just out of his mind, right? And we got this guy he fought a little bit, no big deal, nothing more than it. Had him cuffed. This guy would not shut up, my coworker. Just effing this, that. I'm like, dude, just
be quiet.
Shut up.
Yeah.
The guy's here. He's captured. All right. What's your deal? And then finally I don't know why he did this, but then he gets super pissed. He spits on a dude.
Oh no.
And so the guy's in handcuffs. He gets spit on by my coworker. So what do? I beat the living shit out of my coworker in the office in front of the guy that we arrested.
I bet he was like, what?
And I threw him on the desk. I remember all the bookshelves fell off the wall and fell on top of them. And I looked up and said, hey, you want to crack at it? You're still getting arrested for shoplifting. But then the guy goes, nope, I'm good. You're doing
I'm good. I'll leave it to y'all two.
But it was so funny because I remember I would be walking down the street, and they had they always used to call me Wonder Bread, right? Because I just fight.
Yeah.
Or they called me California. Hey, California, what's up? And after that, everybody was like, yo, what's up, California? What's going on? I mean, they were just like, it was so funny.
The word got around, yeah.
The word got around. I said, hey, this doesn't change things. You run.
Why do they call you California? Why do they call you California?
Probably because I looked like a surfer boy. Back then, I had really blonde hair.
Yeah.
I had the blonde hair and the whole thing, so.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's street cred right there, though. There's nothing better than street cred.
Dude, it was funny. It was cracking. And I remember borrowing money to people that would steal with us, and they'd pay me back. That's how weird things are.
That is weird.
Hey, here's $10. Do what you got to do. All right, pay it back. And I figured out they're never going to pay me back. And then all of a sudden, a couple weeks later, hey, Wonder Bread, I got your money. And I'm like, you're kidding me. Wow, that's impressive. Who'd you steal this from to get it back to me?
Yeah. No honor among thieves. Huh? you never know.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome, though. I mean, I think, yeah, times have changed, man. It's. I mean, you couldn't get away with that. Half of that now.
I'll tell you, here is, because that was Target. Target is a nationwide giant industry, right? And so I think this was the case that ruined it for the rest of us ever again. So this was on the north side Target, the Target Broadway, and this guy stole something. I can't remember what he stole. Oh yeah, VCR tapes. He stole VCR tapes, and takes off running, and Linda Hines, one of the girls that used to work with us, a cop, and the manager chases him. He stops right at the edge of the road and lets a car go by, and then he was going to try to run. But then he's going to let this truck go by.
Oh,
but
no.
The truck had an extended flatbed. Wham! Hit him right in the head. Boom! He goes down, flies up in the air. He's bleeding out of his mouth, his nose, his ear. He's like...
Oh... he's jacked up.
Linda was, well, he's messed up. And Linda, she was nuts. She was like, he got 4 VCR tapes. Get the, I said, the cop at the time like, he's not going anywhere. Don't touch him. He's not going anywhere. And then the ambulance came. The fire people came first in the ambulance. Well, he ends up suing Target for an undisclosed amount of money.
Mm.
And so after that, the policy changed, and they said, well, and I'll tell you something. I caught a shoplifter every 3.5 hours, and another guy had a better apprehension rate than I did, and we had like 7 people. We were catching, one day I remember 4 of us caught 14 shoplifters in a regular shift, just like ding, 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 just constant. Now, that was one store. One Target store, their loss per year was $1 million. That was in the 80s.
Holy crap.
And then another one, which was the Midway Target, they had $1 million loss. Broadway had a $600,000 loss. That was going out the doors per year. And so, that's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
So that's when you start talking about, Black Friday, all that money was getting stolen, and then finally they turn a profit right before Christmas.
Man.
All that theft that's going on.
I don't go out
but
on
now
that
it's much
holiday.
harder but back then, Target had this policy: you could return without a receipt, you could do all this other stuff, so it was like a free-for-all.
Oh yeah.
Guys would walk into the camera and sound department, grab a stereo, walk to the return desk, return it, and walk out with the cash. That's how, so if you didn't see them, they got away with it.
Oh, God. Man. That's crazy living back then, man. It trains you, though. It trains you for all your martial arts.
Hey, I remember Rick Fay. Rick Fay used to work there too, and he worked there before I did. And I would always come back, Rick. And he'd go, "What'd you do now?" No, really. And then I'd say, "This really works great. This worked like a charm." Blah 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 blah. So it was kind of funny because it was like a big it's like a proving ground.
Yeah, a little litmus test for all that stuff.
But I tell you, I was wrestling at the U at the time too, so that was a lot of those guys, they didn't have no clue what was hitting them. All of a sudden, they're like, "Oh, look at this guy!"
Yeah, double leg takedown to the
ground.
Going
down. No clue. So yeah, it was pretty fun.
Yeah, that sounds like good living right there, though. That's a little crazy. Yeah. You're lucky you didn't get stabbed in the face, though, on that one.
Yeah, I was lucky. I had one of my coworkers got stabbed and it separated his tendon in his arm, and his arm is flopped. And that was a lady. He had her around the waist, and she reached up, got a knife out of her purse, and just stabbed him. His arm came off, and then she jumped over Steve, another guy, and stabbed him right in the back, over his shoulder, and took off running. And that was just one more incident of many.
Oh man!
Yeah,
I'm lucky I didn't die, man.
Yeah, there was some
crazy stuff.
Crazy stuff. Yep.
Well, hopefully none of our young guys will have to experience the wild living that you did, like the Wild West.
Well, they couldn't handle it now. I don't think, because it's so weird. Think about people who've never been in a fight now in their life.
Oh, I know. I talk to them all the time. I talk to guys that are in their 20s and they're something, and they'll start training. They're like, "Oh, I always wanted to train this," and just in casual, I'll say, "Did you ever, have problems fighting or anything?" And they'd be like, "No, I've never been in a fight." And I'm like, how in the world are you alive and never been in a fight? Even like, I'm not talking about like an MMA match. I'm just talking or even getting robbed. But how did you not even scuffle in school? Of some sort.
Now they got the total nonsense zero tolerance policy, which I'm still confused about, because my son went through high school and I got called in a few times, and I'm like, okay, I got to get this straight, because there was a time. This is a great little story.
Okay.
Guy grew up in the gym, so he was one of the top wrestlers in the state for a long time. Did Thai boxing, jiu-jitsu. I mean,
he can take care of himself.
Yeah, can take care of himself. He's fine. And so he calls me up, "Hey, Dad, yeah, I'm going to get in a fight in school." And I go, "Why?" And I remember because he goes, "Well, this guy keeps calling Stephanie. Stephanie was his girlfriend at the time. Goes, keeps calling her a whore, a cunt, and a slut." And I'm like, "Yeah, you better take care of that." And then I go, "Wait a minute, who are you supposed to talk to first?" I go, "Whoever you're supposed to go talk to, you tell him, hey, this dude is calling," and use the exact words. Don't say calling her names.
Yeah.
And so that I remember that was on a Tuesday. Wednesday, no problem. Thursday, I get the call, come to the school. Gunner's been in a fight. And I'm like, well, all right. I already kind of have a clue what's going on here.
Right.
So I remember he's sitting in a chair, his hands are crossed, and all lift up in the office, whatever. And I get in there and I go, "So what happened?" And they go, "Well, Gunner was in a fight." And I go, "Okay." And they go, "But it's kind of strange." I go, "Well, either in a fight or he wasn't. I mean, it's not that strange of a deal." "Well, it's hard to explain." I go, "Would you like to see it?" And I go, "What do you mean see it?" "Well, we have it on video." And I'm like,
Hell yeah.
popcorn out. And so I remember you could totally see him. He was squared off with the kid, and I told him, "Hey, when you're in front of a person, keep your hands up like this, just like you're just hanging out. You don't have to be like I'm ready to fight. Just
Yeah.
or play with your zipper, do something where your hands are there." So he's right there, and I'm going, "Okay, A so far. He's got an A." Good.
Got it. Yeah.
And the other kid's, of course, his hands are down. He's like this, and all of a sudden, the kid goes back to rear up the punch, and Gunner just goes boom, and pushes him, and he goes flying off the screen. And then a kid comes from Gunner's one side. Now he's going to, because this kid's been in a lot of problems. So some kid is now going to try to take advantage of him since Gunner dropped him on the ground. So Gunner grabs that kid and throws him back. And then another kid's going to try to do the same thing. He grabs him and throws him back. I look at the guy and I go, it's a wash. He pushed him and he saved him. I don't see the problem.
Exactly.
And then he comes back and goes, well, we have a zero tolerance policy. And I go, wait a minute, what does that mean exactly? And I go, just so I know, did Gunner tell you that this guy called Stephanie, and I remember I go, called Stephanie a whore, cunt, and a slut? And the guy's in his chair like, those words.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, yeah. And I go, now, if I remember, that was on Tuesday, and he told me that he told you yesterday. Was that true? Because I want to make sure I've got everything right. Well, yeah. And I go, and so you talked to the guy yesterday, correct? Well, we were going to talk to him today. And I go, so you don't think that a kid in your school calling a girl that's 13 years old a whore, a cunt, and a slut is a big thing? Oh, no, it's very, I go, well, then why didn't you immediately address the situation? Why is it that the next day afterwards, it's still happening and my son has to deal with this? I go, that's not, so, yeah, but we don't want any fighting here. And I go, well, then you guys have to do something about this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so we were going back and forth. Finally, I just go, okay, what's going to happen? What's the deal? Well, they're both going to get 3 days in school suspension. And I go, all right. So Gunner has also told me that this other kid has been in a lot of fights. Yeah, we've had some problems. Has Gunner ever been in a fight? No. So they're both getting the exact same 3 days suspended sentence or 3 days suspension, in school suspension. Yet Gunner's only done this one time, and this kid's done it several times. I go, oh, I get it. You have zero tolerance for Gunner, but a lot of tolerance for this kid.
Oh, he didn't like that.
Oh, no.
He
Of
didn't
course
like
not.
that at all.
And I said, well, I'll tell you this. Whatever the deal is, that's fine, but I have zero respect for this process. And my son will always be given a green light to defend himself. But if he starts something and is an asshole, then he'll have to deal with that at home himself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I just always cracked up. But that's the problem. These kids are so paranoid to do anything because you can't even push somebody. And
Yeah,
now
you can.
a big fight, gets suspended from school or kicked out of school. Man, it's like,
And
and that
and
school that Gunner's at is a pretty diverse school. You know,
yeah,
very very diverse.
and what's funny is it kind of, in going full back around to the martial arts and teaching kids and stuff like that, is, bullying, I think, has become more of a problem because kids are afraid to fight back. And
Yeah,
so, I mean, you got to teach these kids, man. You got to teach them how to take care of themselves. And like you said, do it in a manner where you're not looking like the aggressor, and you got to,
yeah,
keep your hands up. And Coach Chris Mize likes to say, looks good on tape.
yeah. Exactly. You gotta do it. And not be the aggressor. Be the counter offensive,
Yeah,
whatever
that's
you want
right.
to call it. But you gotta win. You gotta not be beat up. And even if
Absolutely.
that means just tackling the guy and holding him down. But now, even if you did that, you're still in the zero tolerance trap.
Hmm.
So I was just
Better
like,
get you a
this
lick
is
in or
ridiculous.
two.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're going down, you better get you a couple good pops in.
Exactly.
That's just
This is
for any kid
ridiculous.
for any kids listening to that. That is my opinion, not the Coach Greg.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That, that's our there we go. That's our self-defense tip for the day. You're
Yeah.
gonna go down, get your licks.
That's right. Exactly right. Well, I know I've kept you on here for quite a bit, and it's been fantastic talking to you. If you'll hang on with me a little bit, I'm gonna punch out on this and talk to you a little bit off air. For anybody that has the chance, make sure you go to the academy, mn.com, and look at Coach Greg's bio. He's got a lot of good information. Watch some of his videos. Make sure you subscribe to any of and all of his social medias. And we just enjoyed talking to you. Hopefully, we can have you back on again, Coach.
Yeah, definitely. One time.
All right. Well, let me punch this music out, and make sure anybody listening to this, you go like, subscribe, share on all our social media formats. You can listen to this on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, you name it, we're on it. So make sure you go and listen to us, and share with everybody that you can share with. Thanks again.